So yeah, we are originally Adventure International. We've been in the trade for, I don't know, 15 plus years at this point. The heart and soul of how we started was doing luxury trekking and mountaineering in East Africa. We became a global organization and now fulfill luxury trekking in places like Nepal and Bhutan, also in Peru, Ecuador, down in Patagonia, a lot of the hot spots around the world. And through being in the industry and being involved in doing this luxury trekking tour operator that we have, we started actually getting involved in other brands and other projects. So we've got a brand called Lux Surf, where we do luxury surfing around the world with the use of private villas in front of premier surf breaks. We have a sister brand called Adventure Portfolio, which houses a lot of our glamping and ecodome product, which we'll actually get into a little bit in this presentation. And then California Journeys, which is something that has been a real passion of mine. I grew up in Southern California. I now reside in Northern California. And so between everywhere else in the world, California has always been home base and currently is home base. We got involved in working domestically in the US national parks during COVID, which was a real blessing. And through that, we started running privately guided national parks trips, and we got a lot of inquiries, a lot of interest around California. At the time, we weren't set up to do that. A lot of our focus was in the Southwest, and one day we just said, "Yeah, let's get into doing California." Some certain things happened in the travel industry that lent itself to actually a lot of guides and vehicles were available to actually work. So we've actually created this company to give people work, which is something that we actually have been doing around the world for many years. That's kind of our way of, being a sustainable, ethical company is employing people. It's really important. People's lives get very impacted by that. So here we are, California Journeys, privately guided national parks in California. So what we're about is essentially custom itineraries with private guides. So, of course, we have tons of examples and templates, but everything we do is tailor-made. So, we are not really doing group departures, maybe one day, but right now everything is FIT. We use luxury vehicles. We've got sprinter vans. We've got really nice luxury SUVs for touring, transfers to airports. So, um, in our vehicles, we've got water, snacks. We are using mostly the luxury lodges that are essentially most of them sit a little outside of the park. There's a couple places where there are some nice, well-appointed lodging inside of the park. What's really beautiful about California is that we actually have access to private villas, which I think is something very unique. We don't even really do private villas in places like the Southwest because they're not really available. So California has a really unique take on being able to do privately guided national parks with the use of private villas and private chefs. So for your discerning clients that really do want more intimacy, a little bit more up level, we have access to that. So, as we mentioned, access to private chefs, and then also a real focus on gourmet picnics. So, yeah, I don't really like to eat shitty food out of a box, and so I think that we can up our game on the picnics, on our spreads. Maybe pop a bottle of bubbly, some nice wine while people are touring in the park. Why not, right? That's all available. Again, national park lodges, when applicable, there are some places where really that's the only choice at hand, and clients should be aware of that. These are some usually like a 3, 4 star type of lodging. And then the use of glamping. So that is also available. So, as we mentioned before, the use of really nice vehicles, all vehicles are very well appointed, and then just the multitude and different private guides that we have access to. So, if people can get real granular with us about what people are interested in, of course, we will just try to match guides to, hey, this family is super focused on geology, or hey, this is, there's a guide that's better suited for family travel, or this is an extremely active, like level 5 honeymoon couple that needs like, they just don't even want to sit in a car. So great, let's get that guide for that couple. So as I mentioned, really just kind of upping our game with the gourmet picnics when possible. So just really beautiful spreads and just yeah, just a real focus on food, little details like that. So primarily where we're working in California is Yosemite, Sequoia, Big Sur, Joshua Tree, Death Valley, and what I call the Monterey Peninsula. And we can get a little bit deeper into what that looks like. So try not to get too granular, but just try to kind of give a real overview here. We'll start with Joshua Tree and what an example of that might look like. So we do have a minimum requirement, which we'll get into a little bit later here, but just so you know, we've got 3 nights, 4 day minimum. So let's say people want to head over to Joshua Tree for 3 nights, 4 days. We've got Campbell House, which is a really beautiful lodging availability in Joshua Tree, and then the use of private villas. Joshua Tree has a lot of beautiful private villas, so that's a really nice bonus for that area. Um, Joshua Tree is just probably one of the most spectacular bouldering places in the world. There's plenty of hikes. There's like secret places with water. The sunsets are stunning. There's like kind of like arches. There's big rocks. It's just a real mystical, beautiful desert landscape. And then, of course, Joshua Tree Town is super quaint and cute and charming. And then there's places like Pioneer Town. So really over a long weekend, plenty of things to do. So when people want to have a little bit more of a robust desert experience, we can combine Joshua Tree with Death Valley. So over a week, which would be 6 nights, 7 days, very easy to combine these two areas. So Joshua Tree, like we discussed, and then from there you move on to Death Valley for 3 nights. In Death Valley, there's only one game in town. For the level of clientele that we're used to, there's the inn at the Oasis, and that's really the only place that we would put clients and really the only accommodation available. So for Death Valley, brick and mortar accommodation, Joshua Tree, a little bit more flexibility there. People always kind of wonder, like, hey, what's going on in Death Valley? Like, what are we going to see? Death Valley is actually really amazing. It's almost like these like Sossusvlei Namibian like desert sand dune landscapes with like Uyuni salt flats, Bolivia. I mean, it's a real magical place. And so um, there's definitely plenty of things to do in Death Valley. So I would say for like a real robust desert experience, combining Joshua Tree and Death Valley. Of course, if people just want to do Death Valley, they can. Typically, people don't. So you'll come in via Palm Springs, and then if you go to Death Valley, you'll depart out of Las Vegas. Those are the logistics of really doing a trip like that. So we kind of head over to the coast, and a real popular area is Monterey and Big Sur. So typically people will arrive into San Francisco. If people want to do a couple nights there, sure, no problem. Head down the coast a couple hours, and you're in Big Sur. Big Sur is super beautiful, extremely dramatic. And in Big Sur, the two properties are Post Ranch Inn, and then you have Ventana, and those are just the top-notch properties. And then we do have access to private villa, which is really nice. So tons of hiking in Big Sur, waterfalls, and then so a typical, I would say, 4 nights, 5 day itinerary is you do 2 nights in Big Sur, and then you head up to Monterey Carmel area for another 2 nights. Um, People wonder about Monterey Peninsula, And Monterey Peninsula is actually really, really special. So for people who are really into wildlife, Monterey Peninsula, in terms of seeing otters, it's absolutely stunning whale watching. I personally, it's the only place in the world where I have seen orcas actually in Monterey Bay. You can bike, you can do sunset catamarans. It's really, really a beautiful place. And if you're active, there's plenty of things to do. So there's the Monterey Bay Aquarium. In terms of like one of the most well-appointed aquariums in the world, Monterey Bay Aquarium is really, really special. And you keep seeing some photos here of like kayakers, like seeing like whales. I mean, it's legit. Monterey Bay is a real haven for wildlife. So normally what we do, Monterey in terms of accommodation, some of the accommodations basic, a couple nice hotels there. We typically will put people in Carmel Valley. So places like Carmel Valley Ranch, places like Bernardus Lodge are really beautiful. And then if clients want to do a private villa in Monterey, we can do a villa at Carmel by the Sea, which is really, really beautiful. For clients who are really active but also enjoy food and wine, Carmel has vineyards. So in terms of doing some like real high caliber um, wine tasting and visiting vineyards and getting into the whole gastro and food scene, Carmel has the option to do something like that. So let's head over to Yosemite. This is sort of the grand dam of California. The two properties that we will use that sit right outside of the national park is Tenaya and Rush Creek Lodge. And really, the use of these lodges depends on where you come in. If you come in to Fresno International Airport, then you'll want to head over to Tenaya, and that's a separate entrance into Yosemite National Park. If you come into San Francisco, then you'll want to stay at Rush Creek Lodge, and that's a different entrance into Yosemite National Park. So really, when we're choosing these accommodations, it depends on where clients are arriving into the airport, heading over to the park. Um, Typically, I would say 4 nights, 5 days in Yosemite. Easy. Plenty of stuff to see in Yosemite. So you've got lower Yosemite Valley, you've got Yosemite High Country, and then you have these giant sequoia redwood, basically ponderosas. So plenty to do. I had mentioned in terms of accommodations in the park, we have really the iconic Awani Hotel in Yosemite National Park. This hotel gets booked up 2 years in advance. So for clients that are like really wanting to be like right underneath those big granite walls, this needs to be booked years in advance. Sometimes cancellations occur, but I wouldn't bet on that. We've got places like Under Canvas Yosemite, so they're about 25 minutes from the park entrance. We also have access to a couple private villas in Yosemite, which is really, really awesome. And then, sort of kind of launching now, introducing American Safari Camp. And so we now have a proprietary option to set up a private and exclusive glamping option 35 minutes from the park gate. We're actually just up from Under Canvas Yosemite. So American Safari Camp Yosemite is essentially a safari camp that's set up exclusively for clients. This camp gets set up maybe about 2 days before clients arrive. It's private and exclusive, set up on request. There's a camp host and manager. These are canvas tents with proper beds, duvets, pillows. There's an ensuite bathroom, hand washing station, and heat. So we have a dining tent where we do meals, table and chairs, and then we have a shower tent which has really, really nice hot water. It's a nice shower, set up one for every two guest tents. And then we have a private cook that does all the meals. This is like farm to table, backcountry kitchen, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And lunches, if people go into the national park, is prepared in camp and then taken out with the vehicle. So, as part of this, essentially part of this product is everything's included. So, soft drinks, beer, wine, all your meals. When guests are coming back from the national park after hiking all day, they're offered a drink on arrival, a nice, cloth towel to wash their face, canopies. So this is a really, really top-notch, beautiful experience for clients that want that exclusivity. So this gives you a little bit more of a snapshot into the glamping setups in the rooms. And then, yeah, just there's no shortage of food. No one has ever gone hungry coming into camp. And then, of course, in the evening, super beautiful, doing s'mores around the campfire and hanging out. It's basically like, Boy Scout camp, but like extremely elevated. So this is now an option at Yosemite, which is really, really awesome. So typically, a lot of people will want to combine Sequoia and Yosemite. You can do that really easily over 5 nights, 6 days. You would arrive into Fresno, head into Sequoia National Park. Um, Here is a situation where we're a little bit at the mercy of just what's available, which would be Wuxachi Lodge in the park or Silver City Resort. These are really the only game in town. So if people want to go to Sequoia, they'll need to know that it's a little bit more rustic, extremely beautiful, and then head over to Yosemite with the multitude of accommodations that are available at Yosemite to combine with Sequoia. Um, so this would be probably the last combination I'd like to share would be people would want to maybe combine Yosemite, head over to Monterey, and also visit Big Sur. That is a definite possibility in terms of I would say 6 night, 7 day program where you do 3 nights in Yosemite and then 3 nights in Monterey. That is very easily and extremely doable. In this case, we're just featuring Rush Creek Lodge and Bernardus. Um, so, a little bit about how we work. So, as previously mentioned, we have minimum 4 days required. This is really, we don't have the infrastructure and the capacity to do day tours. So, I have been a little bit inundated by people asking about, hey, we just want to book an excursion for a day. Unfortunately, that's not possible. We kind of work in modules. We got to give our transportation and our guides like kind of like these modules of work so that they know, great, I'm on for 3, 4 days. So we just kind of had to do that out of just existing bandwidth. So when we talk about fully escorted, we talk about a private guide from start to finish. So this is water, light, snacks in the vehicle, accommodations are included, all your park fees, breakfast and lunches are included throughout the whole program. We don't include dinners, and there's a reason why. Usually around dinner time, there's so many different options of what's available for people that typically we just let clients do a la carte dinner so that they don't feel the pressure of having to have a huge meal at nighttime. If we are providing drinks and anything alcoholic, like a bottle of wine or champagne during touring, that's all included. And of course, we will lay all this out beforehand. So any specialty excursions like horseback or rafting, which involves other companies and guides who might have to come in, that's all included as well. Yeah, so that's really kind of like your fully escorted type of program. So the other way that we work is we are also doing self-drive. However, here's sort of the caveats around that. So again, we do need a minimum of 4 days, even in a self-drive situation. However, the way that this differs is that clients will arrive into an airport, they will get a rental car, and they will transport themselves to the lodging and parks where they need to show up. From there, they have a private guide and vehicle that shows up daily to their accommodation to take them out for day excursions. And so really that's kind of the kicker of doing a self-drive. Um, in terms of what's included in with meals, it's a case by case basis on a self-drive because sometimes accommodations don't include breakfast. So when you're booking a fully escorted program with us, there's just more inclusions, right? We try to make it as comprehensive as possible. If we're doing a self-drive, maybe some meals are not included. This is getting way too granular. This is all included when people do their bookings. Um, so that's really the difference is the transportation is what the deferring factor is around, fully escorted or self-drive. So what we do further afield is really privately guided national parks and glamping. So, huge emphasis on California, of course, but what are we able to do? We are able to do other stuff. So these are example of places where we work: Zion, Grand Canyon, North Rim and South Rim, Moab area, which includes everything around there, right? Canyonland, Arches, all of that. Yellowstone, Grand Teton, Bryce, Lake Powell, Sedona, Monument Valley, Antelope Canyon, Glacier, Banff, Denali, Olympic, San Juan Island, Smoky Mountains, and Acadia. These are examples of places where we've been putting programs together. If you see a little asterisk next to the name of the area where we work, that means that we actually are able to set up private camps in those areas. So, which is really exciting, and that's not available everywhere where we work. The other little thing that we're also involved in is doing one night luxury rafting setups, which is really, really awesome. So, over the years, we've been asked about rafting and what can we do. I want to be clear here. We're not a rafting company, but sometimes clients ask for one night of rafting. And really, outside of Moab and the Colorado River is a really excellent place for all sorts of levels to do these really nice rafting trips. So we can set up one night of rafting, which is really, really awesome. So we're not getting involved in doing multi-nights. There's amazing companies that exclusively do multi-night rafting trips. They're amazing, but we can include a one-night rafting trip. So yeah, and that's really about it, unless there's any questions.
That's fabulous, Frank. Thank you so much.